cash flow practice and the strategic practice that I'm focused on. The cash flow practice is how do I make more money at the end of this month? How do I convert more clients? How do I get more referrals? How do I prospect? How do I get my name out there in the community? And then the strategic practice is how do I build the machinery to ensure that I increase my case count, my persistency, my wealth under management, all of those good things in 6 months' time, in 9 months' time. What you'll find from me on Module 1 is that I've got to give you some quicker nasties, okay? I've got to give you some stuff that you can do kind of tomorrow, which would make a huge difference in the short term so that you can realize that this course is an investment, not an expense. And if you can start producing some big results quickly, then you're going to come back with more enthusiasm. I had one of the top 40 from Investors Group on the program with me. She's in Edmonton, came to Module 2 in Edmonton yesterday. She sat me down at lunchtime and she said, we did $15,000 in sales in the last 72 hours because I knew I was coming back for Module 2 and I was terrified you'd ask me what I've been doing. I said, all right, so I'm off the hook in terms of your course guarantee already. Would you agree? I have people who are 50% up on last year, halfway through the year. I have people who are 300% up in revenue. But you know something? 80-20 works in this room as well. And I want you to be very aware of that. 20% of people implement 80% of the course content and produce 80% of all of the revenue increases. Because I'm just a guy who's got a clever system and a different way of getting you to engage your clients. Your role is to take this and implement it. Mike shares with me this morning from the Waterloo newspaper in the headlines, United States firm is luring patients to a website where doctors can bid to provide services. So do we have private healthcare in Canada? No, but we have some doctors that if you go online for 25 bucks, you can say, I need my knee reconstructed, and they'll come back and go, it's 12 grand, I'm in Calgary, you can come in the next week and we'll get it done. In this morning's newspaper. It's good stuff, that. There's an article I picked up the other day that's going to go into the Practice Builder Zone, and it's a great article. It says here, thousands of children face unacceptable wait times for surgery. Thousands of Canadian children experiencing unacceptable wait times. 17,000 children were not treated within timeframes deemed acceptable by physicians. You want to write this resource down? It's called the Wait Time Alliance. The Wait Time Alliance. You know who the Wait Time Alliance is? It's a collection of all of the medical people in Canada. So members of the Wait Time Alliance are the Canadian Medical Association, the Canadian Cardiovascular Association, the Canadian Association of Pediatric Surgeons. Government promised in 2004 to spend $5.5 billion to minimize the waiting times for 5 major areas of care, and they haven't done it. And that's where the Wait Time Alliance came from. I would take that article and I would put it down in front of every single one of my clients. I want you to leave here today and I want you to take the Heart and Stroke Foundation 2010 annual report and I want you to send it to Staples as a PDF and I want you to have 20 or 30 of them printed. It's very expensive. It's $2.18 per copy. And I want you to take your business card, laminate it, put it on the front of that and carry that in the trunk of your car and give it to everybody. Send a PDF of that to every single prospect before you go and see them. Send it to all of your current clients to get back in front of them to have the conversation. If you go to the articles section of the zone, the Practice Builder Zone, if you go to the articles section, there are amazing articles in there for you to download, print, and put in front of people. British Columbia announced in January this year that if you want to occupy a hospital bed and you're old, it's $894 a month minimum, thank you. So we don't have free health care anymore. There's another article in the zone that you'll read which says that by the year 2020 there will be more seniors than children in Canada. Now what's the analogy you share with your clients? We built a skyscraper with a certain capacity in terms of foundations and now we're adding extra stories. And we don't get to go back and change the foundations demographically. What do you think is going to happen to the building? And you are not being an unpatriotic Canadian when you have this conversation with people. Long term, the healthcare system in Canada is bankrupt. We just haven't admitted it yet. And you've got to have these discussions with people. I would turn that into a PDF and I'd send it to all my money clients. But read it yourself first. I would quote freely from it. I would print it out and I'd carry it with me in my doctor's bag so that I could put it down in front of all of my money clients. There are too many of us sitting in front of people trying the same old stuff. Canadian consumers are so tired of advisor number 3, 4, or 5 sitting in front of them going, who sold you this? They saw you coming. My one's better than theirs. They're so tired of that approach. You have to be radically and dramatically different at every point of engagement. So let me share with you the first thing you need to buy when you go shopping this afternoon, because you're all going to go shopping sometime between now and the weekend. And I shared it with you at your launch, and I'm not going to embarrass you and ask how few of you have done it, but now that you're paying for the course, maybe you'll listen to me more, right? Some of the things we'll talk about on this course, it's a putt. The British Open will be won by this much. Have you figured that out? Because the key putts that the number 2 on the Sunday misses by, you add up all those putts, the inches, in 28 kilometers of golf, they'll win by this much. This is a putt, a handwritten thank you note, 30, 60, or 90 days after the client becomes your client, delivered to them at their place of work, all right, with some business cards in there. Hi, Bob, I don't want to take this relationship for granted. I respect the fact that you had a wide range of choices in selecting a financial advisor. I'm sure glad you placed your trust in me. If you have friends at work who are not receiving this level of speedy, customized attention and appreciation, I'd love to spend some time with them sharing some ideas. Enclosed are some business cards to pass out to your colleagues at work who were neglected by their advisor during recent market turmoil. Now, I can see some of you grief-stricken going, would you please slow down? If you go into the Practice Builder zone and in the search feature you type wording for handwritten thank you notes, or just type in handwritten thank you notes, the wording's there. It's written for you. So you don't have to think on this course, you just have to do. I'm pathological and evangelical about the fact that if you walk out of here, quite frankly, and you don't go and write 50, 60, or 100 thank you notes and put them in a shoebox, and those go out to your clients 30, 60, or 90 days after coverage comes on the books. If I tell you that it's a very clever idea to get a PDF of the financial plan that you do, the report that you create, and I want you to send that PDF to tomorrow's prospect before you see them, so that they can see what a proper financial plan looks like and a proper report looks like, it's a putt. It's a clever thing for you to do, because they divide themselves into 2 groups immediately. Those that look at it and say, no, Joel, I just wanted to buy a 10-year term policy. We don't want to look at any of this other stuff. What do? Sell them a 10-year term policy, get out of there as fast as you can, but then 6 months later tell them that for compliance purposes you are required to do the plan. When can we get together? So it creates a filter. Personally, while you're at Staples, I want you to print out a sample of the financial plan that you do for people. For those that run with Naviplan, who's using Naviplan in this room? Let's see. In the Practice Builder zone under marketing samples, okay, there is a sample of a Naviplan report. Send that to Staples, get them to print 20 of them, put them in the trunk of your car, send them to tomorrow's prospect before you see them, so that they can see what a plan looks like. And so all we've got to do is look at what the rest of the world did and say, if that comes to Canada, I want to be prepared for that. Makes sense to you? So that goes on the washing line, right? If Morris stands here and says that he thinks that the Heart and Stroke Foundation 2010 annual report should be in front of every client before you go and see them, it's a putt. You send them the PDF. You print it out, you drop it in an envelope with a stamp, with a sample of what a plan looks like, and your testimonial letters, and the 5 key issues survey, and you send that to tomorrow's prospect, which means before you see them, they're already disturbed about their situation. And this is hard wiring for a lot of advisors. Stamps and PDFs from Staples are called investments. An expense is dropping the commission on a $300,000 UL on the floor from someone who postpones or cancels because they open their calendar next Thursday and go, John, who my brother said 20 minutes something, the weather's too nice, we're going to the patio. I had a fight with my husband last night. My daughter hurt her arm at volleyball, and they cancel or postpone you. That kills your confidence, right? If you're on the phone with someone and they say, I've already got a financial advisor. Have you ever heard that one before? I've already got a financial advisor. We've already got life insurance. We don't need more investments. We've got no money, yada, yada, yada. The advisor that is mediocre, and most of your competitors are mediocre lumps that kind of bought themselves a job that they can't get fired from as easily as other people. I earn myself 50K a year and I don't have to come in unless I want to, and it's a wonderful business, right? Most people at that point quit. And I need to tell you that if there's something I'm going to teach you besides passion in the next year, it's something called persistency. I am more persistent than all of you combined, I guarantee it. The difference between Morris and a Rottweiler is that a Rottweiler eventually lets go. I promise you. I'm persistent to the point of distraction. Because you see, if you're persistent with people, eventually they start suspecting that you're not going away unless they use 2 very rude words, which Canadians tend not to use. So you just keep hanging in there. You just keep going back to them. Someone's on the phone with you and says, I've already got a financial advisor. You say, I was hoping you'd say that, Joel. In fact, a man of your experience and success, according to our mutual friend Mark, would have, if not one, an entire team of financial advisors. Would you mind if we took the first step? And you might want to write that down. Would you mind if we took the first step? It's 5 minutes long. Now, most Canadians will want to get rid of you on the phone, and so at that point, they'll say, yeah, let me get rid of this person. What's the first step? I'm going to send you some resources which you've never seen from your current advisor, and I put it in my calendar to phone you next Wednesday, and if, having looked at these resources, you really believe there's no need for us to meet, don't take my call. Okay? Don't take my call. And what are the resources you would send to that person? By email, but preferably by getting their work address. I want you to start getting people's work address so that you can send it to them at work, because they might share this information with colleagues. Activity is everything, the rest is commentary. Activity is everything, the rest is commentary. By the way, you don't need to write down any of the blue slides ever. In the Practice Builder Zone, Module 1 slides, click, all the slides are there. So you never need to write down what you see on the slides here. It's either in the manual or it's in the zone, the whole slide presentation. A full calendar is a sign of success in this business. I'm becoming increasingly spiritual and introspective about the fact that we are not in control of anything. Now, if you only have 13 clients, they're all in your top 50 club, right? You figured that out. And there are two ways that people get into your top 50 club: cash or contacts, and there's a third group called both. So Sil over there, I have $1 million of his money under my management. He doesn't refer. He doesn't want his golfing buddies to know at all that he even has a relationship with me. He might be my #1 client. But I might find that Emmanuel over here, he's the personnel manager in a company in Kitchener-Waterloo. We're buddies. He doesn't want me to do his work. He doesn't want me to know what he earns, but he sends me 7 people a year. He might be my #1 client through contacts. Or I might find Greg over there. I've got $500,000 under management, his $1 million universal life policy, and he sends me a person or two every single 6 months. He might be my #1 client. Please draw up a list of who your top 50 clients are in order, because I'm going to show you 80-20 thinking, and I'm going to suggest that you focus on duplicating and cloning that top 50, and you keep raising your game. Because when you look for those bigger fish, and the bigger fish are out there, Etherington in his book says you can't catch marlin from the dock. What a beautiful saying. You can't catch marlin from the dock. You can catch tadpoles and sardines, and you might catch bass, but if you want to go marlin hunting, you better have the right boat, the right license, the right bait, the right rods. You better have an eco sounder. You better know what the conditions are. You better know what kind of birds fly above the waves where the marlin are. Then you can catch marlin. So it's a putt to go and get testimonials, whether it's video-based testimonials or letters from happy clients, so that you can send them to tomorrow's cynical business owner who's seen 3 of you before. If you're an assistant, how many assistants? Let's see. Your job is not to come to work. Your job is to make things better for tomorrow. Your job is to keep this advisor free so that they don't have to think about anything except sitting in front of people and selling. That's how you create greater job security. So that one day, if that person doesn't have a business, if it wasn't for you, you get to negotiate a better annual raise. So I took a picture yesterday of a couple of IG advisors in Edmonton, Module 2, and I walked in. It was hysterical. There were 3 big wooden spoons in front of the assistant with a photograph of each of the advisors she looks after on the face of the wooden spoon, and her little name tag which says Managing Director of Everything. And I'm so proud of her, because what she does with those wooden spoons is she starts beating in the morning when they come into the office. Don't touch that. Get on the phone. You've played with the hockey tickets enough. Get on the phone. It's mayhem in that office, I tell you. If you're an assistant, I want you to have that wooden spoon, because your advisor is pathological about getting involved in non-income. I've caused trouble already, right? You might as well write it down. It's called non-income producing activity. Get with the program. Because once you've got this, you can be sending clients the note that they need to send to their friends who they've listed on their client record as their emergency contact. I can say, Mary, I've sent you the email you are required to send to these emergency contacts to let them know that you've listed them as emergency contacts. And if they have any question about being on your client record as your 2 key family emergency contacts, they can chat to me, or they should get back to you. Because in terms of privacy, we have to give them the opportunity to not be listed. and you flip them the email, and then they send it to their friends. In my recent work with Anthony Morris Financial Advisor, I listed you as a key emergency contact. If you have any questions or issues, please contact me and Anthony. By the way, attached is a review of what? The kind of plan he creates, testimonials, his profile, etc. It's free marketing. So you might have written down there from today, family, friends and neighbors campaign, Etherington's release letter, text message to clients, testimonial letters, handwritten thank you notes, go and fetch those darn bank forms he talked about at the launch with us, have the conversation with business clients, edible arrangements to all new clients, etc., key contacts, email, and you just make a nice list of things in any order. It's kind of your brain dump. You've heard that expression. You dump everything out of your notes and out of your brain onto one page that says, these are all the things that belong in my practice. Then what you do is you use my implementation system and you code that list. In fact, if you want to write this down, don't even worry about the D's, because we're not going to do a lot of D's on the course. You code that list. So you go along and you say, which of these items is free? Because free is a good price. So if I tell you to say to every business client, you know that because you own your business, you don't own your house, what does it cost you to say that? Nothing. It's free. What does it cost you to say, okay, so you bank with Scotia, you signed this form, they took your house. You better have a policy in place that if you get sick or die, you get the house back from the bank, they get the check, the debt disappears. Because you're on the hook at the bank. Your company owes you this premium. That's free to do that, right? It's free to say to business owners, can I ask you, John, within your estate what you're doing to look after the community, leaving behind a legacy, to look after the community that put you where you are as a business owner. It's a putt. It's free. $1.6 million. You write down $1.6 million there, and you quickly go 1, 2, 3, and you hand the drawing to him, and you put the pen down, and you say, would you write down the top 3 sources of that number in terms of your current retirement plan? And you watch him squirm. Please write down the top 3 sources of that number in terms of your current retirement plan. And then you see that he's unable to do it most of the time. And then you say, I have some great ideas about how we can collect that number, if you'd be willing to take a look. But I have found that below $200,000 a year, and we've coached people who earn $5 million a year, below $200,000 a year, our primary problem is getting in front of enough people who can write the size checks that you need, keeping your calendar full, because activity is everything, and having elegant and interesting conversations with them that get them going, Joel's an interesting guy, isn't he, honey? No one else has come in here and told us that we should own a piece of China in our portfolio. No one else came in here and said, you know, Calgary's not a bad investment. No one else came in here and said, you know, the previous advisor who said you can get 10% out of the pot every year, okay, was wrong. It's 3%, and here's the evidentiary proof. No one else in our life came and told us that you better not depend on the Canadian healthcare system long term because it's going to be bankrupt. No one else told us that we should write a letter after a family meeting to our parents and say, dear mom and dad, would you please leave us less money in your estate? We had a meeting. We're very concerned. Would you please buy some long-term care insurance with the money? Because we would prefer it that you had a dignified old age with private nursing care, which is likely to cost $6,000 a month for a nurse, as more seniors depend on the same structure, resource, and foundation called the Canadian healthcare system. And you might want to write this down, Acapulco Cliff Divers. Acapulco Cliff Divers. And I gave him this, and he phoned me the other day. He says, I've used it 7 times. You wouldn't believe the delight and the surprise and the reaction I'm getting from people. Acapulco Cliff Divers. If you download a picture of an Acapulco Cliff Diver, which you can do off Google, I would put that in a frame on my desk facing my clients. I would carry a color copy of that in my folder, and I'd show it to the whole world. Because you see a cliff diver in Acapulco diving off, and you put it in front of them, and you say to them, these Acapulco cliff divers, when do you think they dive? When they see the water or when they see the rocks? Now, you clever people, you probably know the answer, but most people don't. Your assumption would be when you see the water. That's when you dive off the cliff. And you look at them and say, that's when the one-time Acapulco cliff divers dive. The Acapulco cliff divers, the one that gets to dive again and again, they dive when they see the rocks, because by the time they come down the cliff, the water's come back again, and they've timed it perfectly. Are you seeing any rocks in the marketplace, Joel? one of the advisors now takes a $100 bill and puts the $100 bill in a nice frame that they bought themselves at HomeSense or whatever, at Walmart, and it's on their desk. They see lots of clients in their office, and the $100 Canadian bill facing the clients has a note underneath that says, if I forget to ask you for referrals today, please help yourself to this note. And he lost a couple of notes, but now he's remembering to ask all the people. These are some things you can do. That's 80-20. It's a putt, right? If you set it up with your assistant, and now I'm going to cause mayhem and chaos, if you set it up with your assistant, that when you bring your application forms back, there need to be 2 referrals attached to every single application form. Long term, that might be the 2 emergency key contacts who will eventually become your client next year. But if they're not 2 referrals attached to that application form, well, then your assistant is going to look at that from now onwards and go, oh, gee, you know, you didn't do your job, because what we do in this business is we ask for referrals. So why don't you go back and do your job, because I can't work with that one. Now, if you put that in place as a process, okay, most amazing thing. If you said, I can see Bala's going to get some notes this afternoon. I'm resigning from the course. Take your money back. And contact frequency between 6 and 8 times a year, your clients must hear from you if they're in your top 20%. Between 6 and 8 times, and a lot of that contact should be non-selling contact. Because if every time you contact your client, you try and sell them something, you train an entire generation of clients to ignore your phone calls and emails because there's the life insurance person or the investment person trying to sell me something again. So a lot of this contact has to be soft, non-selling contact. If you go into the zone, in the ebooks section, there's the text message guide. Every text message you could ever wish to send to your clients. I've written them for you. They're not in Xhosa and Zulu. We're going to translate them into French. They're in English at the moment. So I think it's a clever idea if you send your clients a text message reminder of their wedding anniversary 48 hours before. I really do. Why? Because it's a clever thing to do, because 63% of the men forget their wedding anniversary. Then they're in trouble with mommy at home. And it's a putt. Repeat business, 300% more profitable. Referral business, get referrals from your clients, reputational marketing, the things that you do in the community to ensure that your name and your reputation get out there so that people kick down the door to throw themselves at you and say, will you help me? Your name came up in conversation. My client, Michael from Kansas City Life, who has clients who have cabins and cottages. And every time they go to the cabin or cottage, first beginning of the cabin or cottage season, live, mutant ninja, on steroids, massive lobsters, 30 of them arrive at the client's cabin or cottage. Well, your fridge isn't big enough to hold 30 lobsters, right? By the end of that long weekend, they're off. So guess what you have to do with the live lobsters? You invite all the other people from the cabins and the cottages to come over for a lobster broil or lobster barbecue, and guess who they talk about all night? Mike from Kansas City Life. And every time he spends $300 on the lobsters, he gets $13,000 worth of phone calls the next week. And people that said, you know, he wouldn't stop talking about you at the barbecue. In fact, he showed me a sample of the kind of financial plan that I should have, and I was wondering if you could come and visit with me. Mike's like, oh, okay. He's in the lobster delivery business. Quick little app from a quick little client at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, which means that you can't be at the 8 o'clock in the morning breakfast celebration at Tim Hortons when your kids won their house league game, which means that you're actually sitting at the house league game secretly hoping that they lose so that they don't go to Tim Hortons, so that you don't have to feel guilty about not being at Tim Hortons because you've got a quick little app to quick up from a quick little client at 9 o'clock in the morning. And when you wake up at 6:30 that morning, you are already engaged in the guilt and thinking about that client, right? For compliance purposes, I'm required to visit with you once a year to update your file. And there are a couple of shocking and interesting developments I'd like to share with you. When can we get together? It's 20 minutes, I'll bring the coffee, and do an annual review and get in front of them. Go and run through their KYC again. Still work at ABC Corporation, employed, got 2.1 children, married to Molly, living at number 325 William Street, still married, and you're not a terrorist. Thank you very much. Update your file. I want you to do 12 Super Tuesdays. Now, if you're taking August off or time off for August, then you don't do Super Tuesdays because you're on vacation. But trying to put together 12 Super Tuesdays. If you threw the manual out, ignored what I've said this morning, and all you did was this, you're going to have a nicer time leading into the fall and leading into Christmas and whatever campaign you might have in your life, etc. Let me tell you what a Super Tuesday is. It's a cataclysmic production event. What I want you to start doing is stacking and cramming as much as you possibly can into a Tuesday and carry on doing what you'd normally do with the rest of your week. Let's try and turn Tuesdays into a 3-carat diamond maximum productivity event. And a referral to me is not a name or a lead. When we talk about referrals on this program, a client makes a telephone call on your behalf, or a client sends a strong note of recommendation on your behalf, and or a client sets up a meeting which they attend to introduce you to the client at the golf club, at Tim's, over breakfast, in the cafeteria at their place of work. They're there for 10 minutes, you all share coffee, and then they leave you privately to have a chat. If one of those 3 things does not happen, it is not a referral. Especially with do not call legislation, right? You're not allowed to phone strangers, and so it becomes pretty difficult, the whole process. And everything I've got for you prepared as we unfold the course will help you to be compliant with that. By the way, as a tangent within a tangent, I think that at the bottom of your electronic stationery, it should say we proudly comply with the new do not call legislation and only work on referral. Click here to introduce me to your friends. I have a bit of a hardcore attitude towards some things. You'll learn that from me. I think if a person is not willing to spend 120 seconds answering 5 questions about themselves and send it back to you, I don't know that you want to spend $175 worth of your time on the 401 parking lot driving to Mississauga to go and visit with that tire kicker if they're not willing to answer 5 questions. I'm not knocking discovery interview guides. From my perspective, long 45 surveys, question surveys. I don't know that strangers fill that in. I heard from MDRT that the average financial advisor in North America spends 2 weeks a year looking for stuff. 2 weeks. Who cleaned up my desk? I knew where everything was. Well, you knew where everything was, but no one else knew where everything was. 2 weeks looking for stuff. There's an ebook, Before I See You Next Time, that's going into the zone. You'll hear about it when it's there. The 10 things your current financial advisor probably isn't telling you. It's pretty controversial, the ebook. And you'll be able to put your name there as the publisher or the author, or if you have an integrity problem with that, you'll just put about me and people will assume that you wrote the ebook. I wrote the ebook, but I don't want my name on it. You can put your name on it. If you're going to touch anything like your company name and or logo, you better take it through compliance approval. But if you just put that you're a financial advisor, talk to your manager about whether that's possible. It's an aggressive ebook. You send it to people. They say, I've already got an advisor. You say, that's fantastic. I was expecting you to say that. Can I send you my ebook? And you take a look at it. And if you're happy that you're still receiving the service you deserve, don't take my call next week. And the ebook says, number 1, annual reviews are there for the delivery of ongoing service. In fact, you've been paying compensation to your advisor called trail compensation for the delivery of annual reviews. And you're going to have to ask for referrals until you're dead, as Chris Rock said. He did. I don't know if you know that. If you ever think you're going to get to a point that you're going to put up your feet, you've got 80 million under management and 70K a year coming in on trail compensation on life policies, and now you don't have to do anything, watch this space. Because there's someone from a Tupperware half-time financial services operation, buy term, invest the rest, no name shall be mentioned, okay, who's knocking on that neighbor's door. There's someone from a bank punting them when they walk into the branch. You can laugh at Scotiabank. If you're from Power Corporation, go brag on the fact that you're bigger than Scotiabank. I'd be talking that up big time. But they, you know, they see the ad on TV. Oh, maybe we should go in for a second opinion. I walk into TD. Have you had your financial health care? You can laugh at that, but they're wheeling the people over there and say, I need your help. I know everything about money, but I need your help. I know I took your money and have had nothing to do with you in the last 3 years and sent you a calendar in July and a birthday card, but can you please introduce me to your friends? You know what they do? They send you to their really small friends to punish you. Why do you switch off your phone? And with Morris, you're going to learn there's always an overt reason, which is what looks like it's the reason, and then there's a covert reason why you do things. And it's not unethical. It's just that I'm very focused on sales and marketing with you. Here's the covert reason. If I walk into Mike's office over there, I'm going to switch my phone off as I sit down because I want Mike to be sold off his feet before I even start talking. So I'll walk in and I'll say, Mike, thank you very much for seeing me. And I'll do this in front of him. And I say, Mike, I'm going to switch my phone off. Mike, we might find that your accountant isn't doing the tax work appropriately because he isn't growing your loan account by the amount of premium that you are owed by your company because, Mike, I know you own your own business, but that means you don't own your own house. And we need to make sure that the bank gets a check and you get your house back if you get sick or die. And Mike, the other thing I want to talk to you about, the miracle of tax planning in terms of charitable giving and philanthropic giving, because I reserve this conversation for my finer clients. I love the idea of you giving back through your estate to the community that put you where you are. And Mike, we can't do all of those things if I get disturbed. And I've already put 3 or 4 thoughts into that person's head, right? That's why you do that. In fact, Matt says you should never sleep in the same bed as your spouse. Because what you want from this person has got nothing to do with sleep. You have 2 single beds pushed together. You each have your own comforter because you guys burn hotter by 1.5 degrees. Did you know that? So if you're doing the spooning thing with her and you're sharing the same comforter and you're snoring in her ear, no wonder she's grumpy in the morning when she wakes up. She didn't get to sleep. Seriously, you do what you're going to do and then you go away. Don't touch her in the middle of the night. I was waiting for my standing ovation, right? Yeah.
That must have been a woman.
Yeah. Absolutely. They should make annual reviews mandatory in this business. We'd have a different industry. They should say to people, if you want trail compensation, you prove to me that you've invited that client to a review, share a cup of coffee, catch up on their progress and success, or I'm taking away your trail commissions because you're not entitled to them. I'm giving this to another advisor, this person. They should do that, because if we started doing that, we'd have a different kind of business. We wouldn't have casualties. We wouldn't have a revolving door where people are saying, you're the 3rd advisor that's phoned me, because it's going to destroy and erode our brand. Last story, and then I'm going to give you a huge thing. And if you discard this whole manual and you just do what we're about to do at every single new client first meeting, and I'm going to help those of you who are in a slump. Is anyone in a slump right now? A couple people. Oh, that's quite a few people. Okay, we're going to give you some slump management technique here, because you've got to do what I share with you. If you tell me, as you just did today, and you did it when I met you, and they told me in Red Deer, if you tell me that most Canadians don't have a financial plan, they just bought some insurance, and they don't have a relationship with someone professionally like in this room, if most Canadians don't, then do you suppose it's the same at Toyota, Frito-Lay, or ABC Clutch and Brake in Kitchener-Waterloo? Absolutely. So write this down, because we're going to rock and roll, and then I'm going to do something you can do in your meetings with clients. It's called Lunch and Learn. Lunch and Learn. Now, you're probably doing your own version of Lunch and Learn, which means you're going up there to talk to them about life insurance and investments, and the people are looking at you dribbling like they sucked on a Valium milkshake because they don't think they need some, or they want some, or they understand it anyway. And I'm not knocking what you get from your company, but my version of Lunch and Learn is about building capacity and filling your calendar. So here's what you do. Any business client of yours that has more than 10 employees qualifies. So if they're a business client and they have more than 10 employees, if your client works there and they can take you to the executive or the manager or the HR manager, let them take you there and you offer to do Lunch and Learn with their people. Okay? It's a 6-month strategy. You're going to do this for 3 months without talking about you, what you do, or even arriving with a business card. I forbid you for having a business card there for the first 3 times. If you'd started this 6 months ago, you'd be uncorking a wonderful fall campaign in terms of production. So start doing it now. So you go and draw up a list after today of every client of yours that has more than 10 employees. If they work there, back. If they work there, or if they can get you to the senior executive company owner or personnel manager. And you're going to go there once a month with the $1 Million Roundtable DVD, and you're just going to show the DVD to kind of motivate them and make them laugh, think, and remember, and do a little bit of self-development work. That's all you're going to do. And you're not going to take any documents there initially. It's just about building relationship. Because I said to you, relationship equals money, right? Are you with me? The first DVD I would strongly recommend, and if you go to the Zone, you punch the MDRT DVD button, up comes the order form. You deal with Marianne in Chicago directly. I do not get paid for MDRT DVD sales, but you get better pricing if you go through my order form from her, because I want you to build capacity with her so that I can go and work them down on price long term on your behalf. But we've got to make this work. Here's how it works. The first DVD is called Managing Stress with Humor. Managing Stress with Humor, Loretta LaRoche. Loretta LaRoche, L-A-R-O-C-H-E, Loretta LaRoche, Managing Stress with Humor. Loretta says that we are all squeezing. Some people have got dimes between their cheeks, some people have got a roll of quarters, because we are all too anally retentive and you need to drop the change. Okay? Most of us are a joke, and don't take yourself so seriously because you're going to die. She came out from the grocery store. Her husband says her husband's making a sandwich. An hour later, she says, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" He says, "I'm making a sandwich." She says, "But I just bought that." "We should wait till it goes off." He says, he says, "Because of my height to weight ratio," he says, "I'm pretty big up here." He says, "I win everything, Special Olympics." He says, "I chuck the javelin and the shot put and the people and the discus across the field." Gold medals. He says, "I went to Seoul, South Korea." He says, "The Special Olympics, my mate Richard said, 'Tony, would you like to watch the guys playing blind soccer?' I thought, blind bloody soccer, how does this work?" He says, "My mate Richard took a ball, filled it with bells, and he chucked it out in the park, and these 15 blind guys started kicking the soccer ball around." I thought, "Oh, God, this is incredible." I said, "Rich, how long does this take, practice?" He says, "About an hour." I said, "Well, we might as well go sit in the bar." He says, "We're sitting in the bar having a couple of Frosties." The guy comes in and he says, "Who's looking after those blind soccer players?" He says, "We are." "Why?" He says, "Because they've lost their ball and they're kicking a Hare Krishna to death." No one would ever have predicted that you'd be running your own successful financial services consultancy today with all the time, all the money, all the relationships, all the business building opportunities you could ever wish for, and you've got more freedom and choice than 99% of Canadians, because you get to choose what you do with your time, and that is a privilege. And we should be blessed with that privilege every single day. We take it for granted. Does it work well? Yes. Are you feeling that you walk out with much deeper, meaningful relationships? The most important thing is that you feed the stuff into your CRM system. This becomes, because I'm going to sell the whole plan based on the daughter in Stanford University. Watch me. Over the next 10 years, we're going to build that whole university degree and her apartment and her car and her student books and her everything based on the plan. And inside the one circle, you draw a G, and inside the other circle, you draw an A. Bob, what are your actual financial goals? And where are all of the assets right now? Where would you prefer to start the discussion? If he decides to start by sharing the goals, I march him into a financial needs analysis. If he decides to start by talking about the assets, which means we're going to talk about the liabilities, I march him into a financial needs analysis. Either way, he's going to get a financial needs analysis. And you are now ready to start the second meeting, and you leave him with a list of what you'd like him to have for the second meeting and a sample of what the report he'll get looks like, and you leave at that point. Does this make sense? Walk into TD this afternoon, go and lift the sheet out from the tellers. There's a piece of paper there. It says 1% fixed deposit, 1.25% GICs. Go and print out what Flaherty says about inflation. Carry the stuff around with you in your briefcase, in your doctor's bag, so that you can say to people, "I want to show you something. 1% on the deposit, inflation running at 3%. You can't leave money in the bank. You're going to go bankrupt on an installment plan. You can't do this. You've got to spare 10K, talk to me. You got good credit, go and borrow the money for your critical illness premiums if you got good credit, because we're going to give you the premiums back in 15 years' time. Make more sense that you took a note from the bank and a loan from the bank to pay the premiums than you don't have the coverage if 80% of us are going to get that test result from the doctor in Canada in the next 25 years in your life, probably. I'm worried, I'm concerned.